Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on CBS News 24/7. I'm Lana Zach. Testimony has resumed in Donald Trump's criminal trial out of New York City. But before witnesses could actually take the stand, there was a hearing over another round of alleged gag order violations by the former president. Trump was ordered to pay $9,000 earlier this week because he made social media posts about people involved in the case. Our Errol Barnett is outside of the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Errol.
Lana, it's been another significant day in the first criminal trial of a former president, with Donald Trump facing potential penalties for what the prosecution say are 4 additional gag order violations. Also, an attorney who negotiated these so-called hush money deals is sharing everything he knows about who is involved and how things unfolded. CBS News campaign reporter and attorney Katrina Kaufman was inside the main courtroom, feet away from the former president, as you listen to things unfold today. The gag order violation, the 4 additional attempts, hasn't been decided yet, but the prosecution laid out 4 instances where Trump spoke either about witnesses or the jury. That includes what Trump said on April 25th at a construction site. Let's just share with our viewers a clip of when he was asked about one of the witnesses.
David Pecker's testimony so far from this last night.
No, he's been very nice. David's been very nice. He's a nice guy.
So there, Trump is asked about David Pecker, former publisher of the National Enquirer. He says he's a nice guy, a very nice guy. Why does the prosecution think that crosses the line, and what else did they say needs to be punished?
The prosecution called this that Trump is using carrots and sticks. So if you're being nice to Trump on the stand, which Pecker was not always, but he can say nice things about you to the media, and if you're not, he can criticize you the way he does, say, Michael Cohen. But the judge said that that's an instant that he's actually not that worried about. When Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, was trying to argue about it, he sort of said, don't worry about this one. But what he's really concerned about in particular is one that related to the jury, because he really doesn't want any threat to the integrity of the judicial process in this case or to these jurors. For now, the prosecution is not asking for jail time. They say they don't want to disrupt the trial. They still want to only ask for these $1,000 violations, which they clearly hope will just start to deter Trump, because the judge has made it clear that the next step will have to be incarceration if he's going to take this farther.
And as of now, $9,000 has been fined to Trump as a penalty for violating the nine violations of the previous gag order. Now, we heard from continued testimony from Keith Davidson. He's an attorney who represents both Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal in the middle of this so-called hush money scheme. What did he reveal?
He has been central to understanding these interactions that happen behind the scenes between him and Michael Cohen related to the Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels deals. And today we were hearing about, for instance, after the deal had already been made, there were points where Michael Cohen was still very frenetic. The Wall Street Journal was going to put out a story about Stormy Daniels at one point. She was about to start speaking to the media, and he got very concerned, and they had her put out a statement where she denied any affair with Trump. And an interesting moment is that the prosecution was asking Davidson about that and the veracity of it. And he said, actually, if you go word by word in these denials that we wrote, they are true. Because, for example, it said that she had never had a romantic and/or sexual relationship with Donald Trump. And he said no one can say their relationship was romantic. And in fact, he said it wasn't even a relationship, because that would be sort of a continued relationship between two people. So you can tell that as a lawyer, even when he was putting out things that might seem false in retrospect, he was trying to write them in a way where he felt like he could really stand behind the wording of these.
Very interesting, almost semantics. Now, we know that the prosecution's case isn't just about the hush money payments themselves, but they say there's election interference because they suppressed these stories so Trump could win the White House. And when he was in the White House, he wanted to make sure the lid was kept on the stories. So if you're the jury after today's testimony, what impression have you been left with?
We're still in testimony and cross-examination, of course, but I feel like, similarly to David Pecker, Davidson has been a very credible witness. He almost seems very embarrassed and reluctant at times to have to say the things that he is saying on the stand, but he seems like someone where you can really trust the information that he's telling the jury, and they seem very rapt with his testimony.
Of course, as you mentioned, testimony continues. And Lana, one final note as we throw it back to you. We were saying earlier in the week you had a few dozen pro-Trump supporters and MAGA trucks around us. They didn't show up today. You have a handful of just tourists taking pictures and not that same organized show of support that we saw earlier in the week. So that seems to ebb and flow and change as this trial continues as well.
We do hear the motorcycles there, though. Errol, Barnett, Katrina, Kaufman outside of the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Thank you both.